Yo, what's up guys? So today we are gonna see, what if Naruto was the chosen heir of the Juubi? Part 2, hope you'll enjoy this video. So before we start, go check out the author of this fanfic, Ronin2106, link is in the description, and also subscribe to my channel, and like this video. So let's get into the video. No, it can't be you are lying. Kushina cried out at Naruto, when she heard him say it, with him turning his eyes towards him. Naruto, he was my son, I would know if you were him, the real him. At that response, Naruto simply chuckled, while shaking his head. Kushina, what he told me just now was only something that Naruto himself knew. Jiraiya told her, with Kushina refusing to admit that this is her son. Perhaps, but you weren't exactly being subtle in your training, so obviously people have heard all about it, and he could have learned about it from second-hand sources. Shikamaru reasoned, as he turned to Naruto. You are not who you claim to be, simply because facts don't add up. For instance, you are far too old to be Naruto Uzumaki, and you have a different color of eyes, and tone of hair, one that is of lighter color than real Naruto's. And you also do not have the iconic whiskers, so yeah, you are nothing more than a fraud trying to be someone you really are not. And pray tell me, Shikamaru, for what, exactly, purpose would I use the name of Naruto Uzumaki, if I were a fraud? Naruto asked him the most obvious question. What boons or advantages does it offer to me? In fact, just how famous was he? I will tell you he was not in any way famous, at least to the extent that it would warrant someone to adopt his persona. And yet you have adopted it for your own purposes. Shikamaru stated, with Naruto giving him a small smirk. To be perfectly honest, I did think about changing my name a couple of times, but then again, what would be the point, really? Name is only meaningful when you yourself give it a meaning, and for me, Naruto Uzumaki means something that none of you would ever understand. Naruto responded. But I see that you are not convinced, or rather don't want to believe, that I am the same old Naruto you all knew before. Well, almost all of you knew, but the way I see it, I do not have to prove anything to you. Then what's the point of you talking to a soul like that? Kakashi asked him, with Naruto turning his eyes to him. Just kill us, be done with it, if this is what you intend to do. At that one Naruto laughed a little, confusing, and surprising them. Kill you? And why would I do that? Because you've infiltrated my country, engaged one of my commanders, and nearly tore apart this beautiful park. Naruto asked them almost sarcastically. Normally, yes, I would just be done with you, but in all honesty, I'm actually in a rather amicable mood, and I have been looking forward to this meeting for quite a while. Yeah, and why is that? So you could torture, and get us to spill our secrets to you. If you were the real Naruto, you would know that we would never talk. Ino said daringly, with Naruto not even paying her any mind. Tell me, why did you assume my son's identity? Answer me, you fraud. Kushina demanded to know the answer, with Rei deciding to chime in. He did not assume anything, Kushina Namikaze. He is merely using the name that you have given to him, though he has every right to change it. Rei answered for Naruto, as she stepped closer with Kushina turning her eye to her. It has been quite a long time, dear cousin. I doubt you remember me, but I sure haven't forgotten you, Kushina, along with your snide remarks about my lineage. At that moment, Kushina's eyes whitened, as she finally recognized who it was. Rei, you survived the attack. But I thought that all of your family, and the main branch were wiped out in the attack. Kushina said with shock, with Rei simply watching her reaction. Minato's intel said that you lead the Uzumaki now, but how can this be? You were a bastard child, and were excluded from the main branch, so how can you be their leader? At that, Rei simply chuckled and answered. The fact that you still cling to these things, as purity of lineage, and from which branch one is shows just how little you know, and understand. I lead the Uzumaki because I was chosen to lead them, as was my father before me, and, as for the main branch, trueborn, and bastards, none of that has any meaning for the Uzumaki clan. Rei stated to her. The segregation, and separation of the clan into main, and side is over, as it should have been done away long before the attack. You were not there when the attack came, you didn't see how our land burned, and people died, while the main branch tried to save itself, at the expense of everyone else. The destruction of Yuzu destroyed more than our nation, but also our culture and identity, but it also cleansed us from what made us weak, and now the Uzumaki are united, as they should have been from the start. One clan, one family, one for all for one. That was once was our creed, and it is now again. More like serving under a fraud, and a bastard child of a failed warrior. Do you really think that I'll ever believe that someone like you can actually command the respect and obedience of the Uzumaki clan and its vassals? Kushina asked her. Just because you have these chains doesn't mean that you can command anything. Dispel them, and I'll show what a real Uzumaki is made out of. As tempting as it sounds, Kushina, I think I'll pass. Unlike you, I do not have to prove anything, and I have grown past the age when I get ticked off by even the smallest of things. Rei said with a mocking smile, before she turned to Naruto. Millard, what is it that you wish to do with them? If I may, Lord Naruto, I would suggest that we get rid of them in this instance. Namasa suggested, with Kushina looking at him with surprise. While it does sound tempting, Namasa, I am not in the mood to draw blood, especially on the eve of the festival, and I am not all that interested in starting a war with the Leaf, despite everything that has happened. Naruto stated to him, as he snapped his fingers, and a 7-man squad appeared out of the shadows, each of them wearing different arms and armor, yet all looking as ferocious and dangerous as they could get. Instead, I think I'll just drop these guys off at their village, and while I'm out there, make my intentions as clear as possible. If you would permit, Millard, I would like to also accompany you to the Hidden Leaf. Ray asked him. I would like to look into the eyes of those who had left my people to die, and make it clear to them that the Uzumaki are not dead, and that we have not forgotten nor forgiven those who had betrayed us. Very well, as you wish, Naruto told her, as he moved closer to Kushina and suddenly touched her neck. What do you think you are doing? She asked him, unable to shake him off. Just looking for that flying Raijin formula that your husband has put on you, and there it is, Naruto said, as he found it, and then his free hand began to perform a series of hand signs. Hold on to me, Ray. This may be slightly uncomfortable. At that, Ray grabbed onto Naruto by hugging him closely with her free hand, placing it onto his chest with her entire body pressed into his side, while she had quite a smile on her face. The moment Naruto was done with the signs, the area filled with smoke that cleared away almost instantly, revealing a completely clear spot in the park, where just moments before was the group of Konoha shinobi, Naruto, Ray, and Daimyo's personal bodyguards. Konoha, council chambers. The very next moment, a large puff of smoke appeared right in the middle of the council chambers, and the next moment it cleared out. Naruto realized where he had found himself, and it brought quite a smile upon his face. He was right in the council chambers, right in the moment when they were having another one of their sessions, with the entirety of the council members, and even shinobi clan's heirs being present, not to mention the elders, and Hokage himself. This was even better than he could have asked, for Naruto was actually quite interested to talk to not just the man who had destroyed his life the first time, but also with all the people who had made his life, as a child, miserable and nearly unbearable. He glanced around, and noticed the shock and utter disbelief on everyone's faces, with the civilian council being unable to even fully comprehend what was happening, while the shinobi council acted in quite a different manner, as did Hokage and the Anbu that were stationed here. The clan heads, and many of the present heirs already prepared for a fight, their training skills already kicking in, with only one exception, and that being Hinata Hyuga, who was unable to move even a muscle. Where her father and younger sister already activated the Byakugan and assumed fighting stances, she simply looked at Naruto, and tears began to run down her face, with Naruto seeing clear realization and purest happiness in her eyes. The sight of Hinata crying caused a small painful pang in his heart, for before his mind was altered and nearly broken, he did develop a something akin to crush for the soft-hearted girl. Looking at her now, he couldn't help but notice how she had matured and grew into a woman of beauty and grace, though it was also clear to him that this growth also came with sorrow and sadness for her. Out of all in this village, only she was undoubtedly the one to have mourned him, and he could clearly see how it led to her being ostracized and made into an outcast within her own clan and family. He knew even back then that the Hyuga clan wasn't a place that fit Hinata, and that she was always viewed there as a weak and meek person, unfit to lead their clan in the future, and deserving only to move away for the sake of her sister. That sentiment extended to all of the clan, not just the main branch, but also the side branches as well, for why else would Neji be so ready and willing to kill Hinata, a member of the main branch, if it also meant that he would likely be killed soon after for such a travesty? The answer was, as simple as it could be, the clan, or rather its elders, and Hiashi, gave him their permission to kill her, and therefore rid themselves of the problem that they saw Hinata being. And that thought made him rather angry, angrier than he would have expected himself to get, signaling to him that even after all this time, he still held warm feelings towards Hinata, and just from the way she looked at him, from what he could see in her beautiful eyes, he could tell that for her, he was far more than either friend or object of admiration, but what his wives and race saw him. Turning away from Hinata, and directing his sight towards Minato, he saw the surprise and shock in his eyes, which quickly retreated, and gave way to the concentrated anger and preparation, as he saw his wife and the team he had sent bound by the chains of Ray. Naruto realized instantly that to expect him to be shaken and staggered would be pointless, but the reaction of the two kids that were near him, now they were not so quick to get rid of their anger and shock. A boy and a girl, each of them looking like a younger version of their parents, Menma and Natsu, were glaring daggers at Naruto, with Menma practically snarling, and prepared to strike him at that moment, while Natsu was far more restrained in her actions and intentions. From just a casual glance it was clear that Natsu was the level-headed one of the two, while Menma was more like him when he was younger, only even worse. When looking at them, he could clearly see the resemblance between them and himself when he was younger, and while he could have thought about how things would have turned out if his parents had made a different decision, it was ultimately pointless and needless. The past was in the past, and he had already died, and was cleared away of any attachments towards this family, so besides from anger and controlled hatred that he felt for Kushina and Minato, there was no room for anything else. He was here for a purpose, and one that he intended to complete now. The moment Anbu had appeared and prepared to strike him, his bodyguards surrounded him and ray in a protective manner, while Naruto simply raised his hand and spoke first. Let's not be so hasty, shall we? I understand that this may be a bit surprising and confusing for you, but despite how it looks, I am actually here simply to talk to you. Naruto told them in a casual tone as he looked at Minato, who already drew out his kunai. I understand that you were trying to find out who I am and what it is that I want. Well, I am here to tell you all exactly that. So, father, or rather, Minato Namikaze, shall we talk? Naruto couldn't help but smile at the surprise on his face. Just who in the world are you, and how did you get in here? Counselor Heir rose up from her seat, looking at Naruto with shock. Release these shinobi at once, or face the wrath of the Hidden Leaf Village. Whoever you are, you chose the wrong place to pop up, you bastard. You are right in the heart of the strongest hidden village, and unless you release them, you and your friends will be very sorry for ever getting here. Suminizuka practically snarled at Naruto, while he simply sighed, before giving Rei the signal to release them. Good, now die. And at that very moment, the shinobi of the Hidden Leaf in their near complete entirety leapt into action, while Naruto closed his eyes. Unfortunately for them, the moment they did, they were stopped by some kind of force, and then were all pushed backwards, forcing most of them to crash into the wall or floor, without the ability to stand up. Only those who had chosen not to attack Naruto were spared that fate, with his former sister Natsu being one such person, alongside his former parents, Hinata, and those he just brought here. Letting out a small sigh with close eyes, Naruto opened his eyes, looked at Minato Namikaze, and spoke up again. I did say not to be so hasty. After all, one can never know what your supposed opponent can have hidden in his sleeves. Naruto remarked, before turning his attention to Minato. So, Minato, I understand you were interested in me. Well, here I am in person. Who are you? Minato asked him, with Naruto smirking at him. I think we both know at this point who I am, even if you tried denying it in your mind. Naruto answered him, before raising right hand and opening his palm. But, to dispel any remaining doubts, here's a clear proof of who I am. Naruto said, and at that very moment a familiar-looking ball of chakra appeared, shocking all who saw it, with Minato included. A Sengen. But I only taught that technique to select a few, and aside from them, only Minato realized what Naruto was meaning behind his words, and then realization came crashing down on him. Naruto, is it really you? Naruto smirked at that, dispelling Rasengan, and answering. And who else would I be? A fraud trying to masquerade as someone as insignificant as the supposed demon fox of Konoha. Give me a break. Naruto chuckled at that, while everyone else was reeling from the realization of who it was before them. But how is it even possible? You were dead, Tsunade had personally checked your body, there was no way you could have survived, and even then, we burned you afterwards. Hiruzen Sarutobi said with shock, before Naruto looked into him. How did you come back, Naruto? He asked him in shock. Well, I'm not denying that I died, which I did, in fact, after your precious— If you have been alive all this time, then why did you not report back to the Hidden Leaf Village? Did you forget your duty to it? Mitakato demanded to know from him. If you really are Naruto Uzumaki, you would have done exactly that, instead trying to play who you can never be, and never will be. And why would I return back, especially after my mind was restored to its fullest potential, with all the memories of what this village had done to me? Naruto asked them, revealing that he had full memories of what had been done to him. Why would I go back to living in the slums, being a pawn in your games, and just being a puppet in your hands, when I am now one of the most powerful persons in the world? Besides, I did die for this village, so don't go trying to blame me for disloyalty and treason. Naruto added in a light-hearted manner. Yet you came back, alive, and apparently stronger than before, not to mention older. Inoichi said with narrowed eyes, with Naruto shrugging his shoulders at that. Well, me being alive doesn't exactly nullify that I did die for you all, even though I do wish Orochimaru had turned this place into a pile of ashes, but we digress. Naruto said, as he decided to return to the reason he was here. The point is that I am alive, and I am here to clear up the air, so to speak. Despite what you all may assume and believe, I am not here to destroy you all. Quite the contrary, in fact, I am here to talk to you, or rather, make a proposition. And what proposition would that be? That we apologize to you for what was done to you. Never, the Leaf and its people would never sacrifice their pride and honor, especially to a demon like you. One of the civilian counselors shouted at Naruto. Honestly, I would have been surprised if you did, but no. I propose a non-aggression pact between the Hidden Leaf and Kurigakure, as well as our countries in their entirety. Naruto suddenly proposed to them, surprising them all, as this was the last thing that they had expected. Surprising, as it may sound to you, but I am not all that interested in seeing you destroyed, despite all that has occurred. In fact, it would be quite a serious inconvenience if we were to become enemies because of our past grievances, especially now when we both have far more pressing matters, and enemies that need to be taken care of. I am sure you know who I mean, Minato. Naruto smiled at him with a knowing smile. And you seriously expect us to believe you? After all that has happened, and with the way you just made your way here, not to mention taking hostages just to intimidate us, you dare to talk about peace. Chaozu Akimichi said with distrust towards Naruto, with said man turning towards him. Any normal man would seek vengeance for what was done to you, yet you speak of peace. I do not believe you one bit. To be blunt, I don't really care what you think about me, and, as for me bringing along your infiltrators, I've simply decided to bring them along, as a show of goodwill, and for the sake of efficiency. Naruto responded. Had I wanted to, I would have had them all sent to the interrogation chambers, or executed if I was in a less patient mood. Moreover, let us be real for a second, you all would have done the same without a second of hesitation, unless it would hurt you more in the long run. And what exactly would we receive in return, if we were to accept this proposal of yours? Shikaku Nara asked Naruto. What benefits can we gain from this sudden proposition of yours? Well, for starters, you will lose a potential threat to your east, and will be able to redirect your efforts to your more pressing matters, like Orochimaru and his Itagikur. Not to mention that your village, as well as the Land of Fire, as a whole will gain a new trading partner in my country, but along with that, other countries will also be far more open to resume their past relations with you. Naruto stated to them. Grass, Waves, Spring, and others, including Suna, will all follow suit, and again do business with the Leaf and Land of Fire, and from what I've heard and seen so far, losing all of those allies and trade partners was quite a severe hit to your. You think that we would just accept your proposal because of that? Can you even achieve what you are talking about? Hiashi Hyuga asked Naruto. And what is it that the shinobi clans stand to gain from supporting this notion? The way I see it, you just wish to save yourself from our righteous wrath for the betrayal you've committed against us. Hiashi narrowed his eyes at Naruto, who simply let out a sigh. In case it was not so clear last time, I could have easily taken you all out when you just tried to attack me. Naruto reminded him. Yeah, like hell you would, you're a failure. Menma decided to speak up. Just you wait, when my sis and I get to you, we will. At that moment, Naruto's eyes met Menma's, and at that moment, the loudmouth shinobi instantly shut up. Go, and sit in the corner, boy, while the grown-ups talk. Naruto simply stated to him in a cold tone, before turning to Minato. Now then, Hokage, what say you? It does not take a genius to realize the benefits of having Land of Water as your ally, and with the way Kumo and Iwa are behaving, not to mention Orochimaru, you are dangerously short in terms of allies, and are in no short supply of people who would like to see the leaf burn. It's up to you to decide in which of the categories you want me to be. Naruto said to him in a carefree manner. And if I do not accept your offer, what will you do then? Minato asked him, with Naruto shrugging his shoulders at that. Then I guess I will go looking for friends somewhere else, like in Iwa and Kumo. I am sure Inoki, and I will have plenty of things bond over, like our shared misgivings with the leaf, or the fact that you, Minato, basically fucked us all up. Naruto replied to him with a small smirk. With all of that binding us together, plus Suna joining in this collective, Leaf would be in a really bad spot when the next great shinobi war begins. You would so readily side with our enemies. You truly have no shame or honor, Naruto. At that remark made by Mitakato, Naruto simply chuckled. You forget I am not your shinobi, or rather puppet, anymore. I am Water Daimyo, and I am here to discuss business, as a grown-up and responsible person, instead of simply trading insults. If you can't manage to keep yourself professional, then leave and stop wasting time, air, and our time. Naruto simply dismissed Mitakato, as if he was nothing, which immediately made the elder angry at him. Enough. Minato spoke up, as he finally made a decision, turning to Naruto. What guarantees can you give us that you will keep your word about this pact? At that, Naruto pointed at the infiltrators. That is all the proof you need, Minato. I kept them alive, even Kushina, and mostly out of harm's way. Naruto reminded him, with both of them knowing that this was true, as well as the fact that Leaf needed allies right now. It's up to you to take the offer or reject it. Either way, I've said my piece, and returned your people to you, so I say it is time for me to return. What, you are just going to leave, just like that? Jiraiya asked with surprise on his face. Of course. Why else would I waste my time here? Going about trying to destroy this place, killing everyone in sight. If I was after all of that, I wouldn't be here playing diplomat. Naruto noted. Unlike you, Privy Sage, I've got a country to rule, and people to care about, and I've been away for long enough, as it is. Like you actually can rule that country, Ino said with contempt, but Naruto ignored her. You've got 2 weeks to consider my offer, and discuss it with your daimyo. My ambassador will deliver that message to him tomorrow morning, so he shall be informed about everything. If you decide to take my offer, send an envoy straight to Kamakura, and to my court before the end of the time, and if you do not. At that one, Naruto had a small smile on his face. Well, I guess I'll be entertaining ambassadors from Earth and Lightning. I hear they have quite unique tea ceremonies, and I have recently taken up partaking in those when I have free time. I am curious what properties their ceremonies have, and with that said, Naruto prepared to transport himself, Rei, and his escort out of here, when Kushina called out to him. Wait, Naruto, wait. Kushina had managed to gain his attention. You can't just leave like that. Do you not want to talk to us? Your father and Kushina tried to speak, but were interrupted by Naruto. I have no need or wish to speak with you, and if I did, what would you want to hear from me, Kushina? Naruto asked her with a neutral expression, with Kushina saddened by the fact that he was so uninterested in her and her wish. Besides, what is there for us to say to one another? That what you did was for the good of the leaf, that you are sorry, and that you wish to make amends. But, we are family, and I am your mother, so don't you? At what Kushina just said, Naruto's eyes narrowed, before he spoke up. We were never family, and you and your husband have never been my parents. And even if I wanted to make up with you, it would already be all too late. After all, I did die. Naruto reminded her, deciding not to prolong his stay here. You have heard my offer, Minato. Make your choice, and when you do, be sure to show your dedication to that course of actions, if you understand what I mean. And at that moment, Naruto and his entourage disappeared from the chambers and from the village. We should immediately send forces after them. They couldn't have gotten far away from us, one of the civilian counselors demanded, before Shikamaru Nara shut him down. You can forget about it, you'll not be able to catch him or his escorts, because that wasn't a body flicker jutsu, but a full-on space-time ninjutsu, possibly flying Raijin itself. Shikamaru stated, before turning to Kushina. He must have used Kushina as a conduit to teleport us all here, by using the formula to track down the creator of it, and then teleporting straight to it. That's how he got here from Kamakura. What a drag, it seems Naruto not only became older, but he is definitely not lacking for new tricks. Is it even possible to use the flying Raijin in such a way? Shibi Aburamas, turning to Minato and Hiruzen, as the foremost experts on that. I do not know, I never attempted such a thing. Minato admitted, before they all suddenly heard a loud crashing noise, and felt the ground shake beneath their feet, with the whole building shaking, as well. What in the world is that? At that moment, a group of 3 Anbu appeared right in front of him. Lord Hokage, there has been a destruction of the village's property just now. Anbu commander stated with awkwardness, as this was clearly not something that he wished to state. Mere moments ago, 4 out of 5 of Hokage mountain statues were cut off from the mountain, and came crashing down. Minato, and everyone else looked at them with shock. 4 out of 5, all at the same time, came crashing down. Hiruzen asked with shock in his voice. Have there been any casualties? No, fortunately the statues came down without breaking apart into debris, and landed as solid pieces. Aside from the large clouds of dust and tremors caused by them, there were no damages done, but the people are bound to panic if they haven't already. And also at that moment, Anbu commander took out an envelope and gave it to Minato. This was found on the head of the 5th Hokage, the sole one that is still attached to the mountain. Minato took the envelope and opened it, revealing the letter in it and reading it aloud. Consider this to be your first and last warning. If you decide to spit at my graciousness and open hand, I will give you the same blade that had severed those heads. Minato read, with the council in shock at that. Oh, and if you see Tsunade, tell her I said hi, and invite her for a visit to Kamakura. I'm sure she and I have so much to catch up on. Sincerely, Naruto Uzumaki, Daimyo of Land of Water. And with that said, in one day, Naruto had revived his reputation as the #1 most unpredictable person in the world, and Konoha was left reeling from the shock and effect of his statements. 3 days later, Daimyo meeting chambers. As Naruto had promised, Fire Daimyo had received an official letter from Naruto himself with the proposition attached to it, as well as the notification that the Leaf had already received it, as well. It did not take long for Daimyo to react, and, as soon as he could, he moved to Konoha to consult with the Hokage and others about it, since it would appear he could not fully make that decision. This was nothing new for the Leaf and its leadership, as they have long since gotten used to the fact that the leader of their country always asked their opinion about such things before making the ultimate decision. This gave them a certain level of influence and power in the decision-making of the entire country, and they were the ones who had influenced Fire Daimyo and his court to impose the new trade regulations on the water in the first place, having been incensed by its increasing riches and influence. They had hoped that in some ways, Naruto would be much the same way, but now they understood that he was a far different kind of daimyo than what they had come to deal with in the past. His predecessors, the Imagawa, were far more self-centered and easily manipulated and made to do the. At first, they thought that Naruto would be the same way as all that came before him, but instead, they learned that he was as decisive and direct as he was different from the boy they knew. He took matters into his own hands, instead of relying on others, and it was clear that he held not just strong influence over rebuilt Kurigakure, but was commanding it in a practically direct manner. It took little time for Minato and his council to understand that Naruto was not going to be joking around, and he was as serious as they got, and after his little warning, they took to considering his offer seriously. In all honesty, this was the offer that they never expected to receive, but were all hoping they would get, as it would solve a great multitude of problems. Ever since the many countries have cut their ties with the Land of Fire, both the country and the hidden village suffered a serious hit to their economy, and with the reduction in trade and resources from abroad came a serious reduction in clients. While they still had their regular clients to rely upon, and had the funding from the daimyo court, Kano has still suffered a serious hit to their riches and economy, as they no longer had as many partners to trade with and clients to work for. Hidden villages survived on both the funding from their daimyo, but also on the revenue from the missions, and with the serious decrease in the latter came the funding cuts with the former, as daimyo tried to counter the effects of the loss. This meant that Leaf was not able to maintain such a large force as it did before, and had to decrease the number of their active shinobi in the field, mainly firing or moving into the reserve shinobi from civilian families. Unfortunately, this led to many of the genins and chunins to outright leave the Leaf village after they were fired, and become mercenaries or bandits, since none of them knew how else to make a living. This in turn led to even more problems that the Leaf had to deal with, and this was further hampering their power and abilities. Naruto's proposition was like a blessing from above, and Leaf was more than eager enough to accept it, given their mounting problems, but they weren't blind enough to simply take it without at least analyzing it. And once they believed they had discerned the true reasons for Naruto to make such an offer, Minato, his elders, as well as Hiruzen, Shikaku, Hiashi, Kushina, and Jiraiya, met with Fire Daimyo in the chambers allocated for such occasions. This offer that this ruffian has made, as much as it repulses me to even consider making deals with this upstart, he does offer quite good deals. Daimyo said in a mix of boring and prideful manner, showing his clear obliviousness to all gathered here. And I hear that his country now gets all of the best silks from the east, and that just his commoners dress like my nobles do. It would not do for me to dress in rags while his peasants prance about akin to nobles. Daimyo said with indignation. You are entirely correct in that regard, Lord Daimyo. Minato agreed with him. And while it may seem unsightly for a man of your station and lineage to make deals with Naruto, the council and I have long and hard conversed about this entire situation, and we believe that it would be for the benefit of all of the Land of Fire, and you personally, if you were to agree to this offer. Really? What are those benefits we would get from working with this lowlife? And do you really expect me to show affirmation to keep my end of the bargain with him? Daimyo asked with an insulted tone, before opening his fan and blowing it upon himself. Seriously, who does he think he is? Actually, the goal to demand of me, Yashahide Sakura, a fire daimyo, to comply with this upstart and give affirmation to our dealings. My word is all that he needs, and even that is too much. Yes, you are entirely right, Lord Daimyo, and yes, Naruto is nothing more than a low-rank former genin, who has turned his back on us, and by some mysterious way, found his way to become a would-be daimyo. Koharu agreed, before adding. And yet, as Lord Fourth has said, there is a great measure of wealth and power to be gained from cooperating with him. And this agreement needs not to be a long one, and his reign will not be a smooth or long one at that. Koharu said menacingly, gaining the attention of Daimyo. I understand that you have some kind of a plan to deal with him, or something like that. Yashahide asked them, with Hiruzen answering. Yes, Lord Daimyo. Lord Hokage and all of us have been in deep discussions and contemplation regarding the entire situation and this proposal, and after a prolonged consideration, and regarding what we have managed to obtain through our sources, we have arrived at a certain conclusion. Hiruzen spoke. It is our understanding and belief that this offer that Naruto Uzumaki has made is not a sign of power, but is in all actuality a careful ploy to mask the weakness of him, his regime, made in such a way to appear powerful and strong. Yet, in all actuality, he is, in fact, a ruler who sits atop a fragile throne, and who can be toppled if he is not careful. Really? What gave you such an idea? Daimyo asked them. We have known Naruto for a long time, and he was always a loud mouth who liked to blister and make himself appear bigger than he really was. He may have refined his speech and ways of action. This entire show was nothing more than a charade, meant to mask the weakness of his regime and power. As you well know, he has slain entire noble families, including the Imagawa clan, just to secure his power, and while the commoners may be on his side, those of the noble class are clearly in a silent uproar with this upheaval in the traditions and status. His sudden openness to dialogue and diplomacy can only be explained by the fact that he is struggling to maintain his power and reign, and is now therefore seeking allies from abroad in order to strengthen his positions. Furthermore, it can also be said that even Kurigakure follows him only in lip service, given the fact that the current Mizukage, Mate Tsurumi, is rumored to, Shikakunara stated. Naruto's position is fragile, and a military conflict with anyone right now would see his regime toppled in no time. Then I say we start that very conflict, and remove him from the face of the earth once and for all. Daimyo said with more enthusiasm. With all due respect, Lord Daimyo, wars are expensive and can be unpopular, and if we do become the ones who start this conflict, we may actually end up unifying the Land of Water behind Naruto. Mitakato noted, with Yashahide being forced to admit that this was a strong possibility. However, as you have said before, he is an upstart that is undeserving of his station, and only one, as powerful and prestigious, as you can be trusted to lead a nation like the Land of Water. Hence, we have all come up with a solution that may satisfy not just you, Lord Daimyo, but also satiate that traitor. Really? Go ahead, I am eager to hear what you have to offer. Fire Daimyo said, with Minato speaking up. We will take his bait and agree to his proposal and regain access to our former allies, and also gain his markets and traders, so we will need to suspend the installed regulations. And, as a confirmation and show of our dedication to this treaty, as is customary, we shall send envoys with a plethora of gifts, but also a gift for women. Minato added, getting the attention of Daimyo. Women? You mean you wish for me to send a member of my own bloodline to him, is that it? Daimyo asked him. Even if I had a daughter to begin with, I would sooner sacrifice. We do not demand that you sacrifice anyone of great import, Lord Daimyo, only that the chosen concubine be a member, not even a direct. Yes, I do have someone that could fit those criteria. A niece of mine, a daughter of my late younger sister, and that rebel lord who dared to rise up against me. I have been thinking of ways on how to get rid of her for years now. I was even prepared to just give her to one of my servants, as a wife, for she has been such a sore sight for years now. Daimyo said, before blowing his fan. She is unfitting of my family, but she is of at least passable beauty, I was told, and could actually entice that uncouth leech. She will do nicely. Have you decided whom you will send to him, as your sacrifice? I hope that it is not Natsu, for we have reached an agreement about her, Minato. No, of course it will not be, Lord Daimyo. Minato assured him. My eldest daughter, Hinata, shall be sent to him, as a concubine and gift. She is unfit to be an heiress of Hyuga clan, and does not possess anything of value outside of her station, but the demon fox has been known to have a soft spot for her. Hinata too had harbored feelings for him for a long time, hence he will be more than happy to receive her, as a gift to satiate his lusts. Hiashi stated to Daimyo. Naturally, Hinata will be removed from the main family, and placed into a side branch line, with the caged bird seal placed upon her, as is customary, along with additional seals that will. Are you truly prepared to sacrifice your own eldest child and daughter to such a man, just for the leaf and me? Daimyo asked Hiashi. Hinata is of no use or consequence to me or my clan, and she has proven to be a failure, as a shinobi, especially when compared to her younger sister. This is the best use of her that we can come up with, Hiashi said with a cold tone. Think nothing of her, for she is nothing but a means to an end. Very well, but I still do not see why we need to do this, Daimyo said with confusion. As I am certain you are aware, Lord Daimyo, Naruto in all his time as ruler, has failed to produce an heir with any of his women. Your niece and Hinata Hyuga, as well as their accompanying entourage, will ensure that they are the only ones to gain his children, while his first wives and concubine remain childless. Minato continued. With the concubines, we shall be sending our own people to create an effective net of shinobi around him, ready to act at a moment's notice. Once both of the girls have birthed children, Naruto, his wives, and their supporters will be quickly and efficiently disposed of, leaving the only legitimate heirs and rulers, and his children with your niece and Hinata. And through them, and their offspring, you, Lord Daimyo, shall assume complete control over the land of water. After hearing an understanding of what it meant, Yashahide became positively giddy with anticipation. Oh, what a cunning and brilliant plan. Yes, that fool will not know what had hit him. Well done, Minato, I couldn't have come up with a better idea myself. Daimyo praised him. I shall arrange the best gifts for him, make him think that I am all for this idea, and will have Akeno instructed accordingly with what she is to do. She has inherited her mother's looks, so she is bound to get that ruffian's attention, even if compared to my women, she is only a meager and unremarkable so anyway, enough about that. Tell me, Minato, how are things with Natsu? I am hoping that the issue with her being a Jinchuriki will be solved soon. It will be, Lord Daimyo. Within a month, all preparations will be completed. Now that Kushina is here again, her half of fox will be removed and planted into Menma, without any harm to her capabilities, as a woman. And once she has made a full recovery, she shall be all prepared to become your daughter-in-law. Minato assured him, with Kushina bowing at that, with Daimyo looking pleased when he heard the news. We are eagerly awaiting the day when she becomes a member of your house, Lord Daimyo. So do I, and my son. He is positively enthralled with her beauty, and cannot seem able to think of anything else but her. You and your wife have served me most well, and since it is my younger son's wish, I shall be more than pleased to grant your daughter the right to bear our name and his children. Daimyo said with a pleased tone. Although, I am a little concerned with the way she had been responding to the advances of my son. Are you certain that you will be able to rein her in before the wedding? You have nothing to be concerned about, Lord Daimyo. Natsu understands her duty, and the role she has to play in the grand scheme of things, and I assure you, she will be more than happy, and grateful for the grace you shall bestow upon her. Kushina assured him, with Fire Daimyo looking quite pleased with everything, already imagining himself becoming the ruler of two countries at the same time. Land of Water. Minamoto's private estate. Situated at some distance away from Kamakura and busy roads and highways, the private estate of the Minamoto family served as a resort for its members for decades earlier, and now it was a place where Naruto was allowed to enjoy several days of peace and quiet without being disturbed and bothered. Inherited by his first wife, Reku, she had long since shared the secret of its existence with her husband, and he, as well as all of his wives, have made it their tradition to retreat or to spend time together, in a private and intimate manner, just to enjoy their life together. Now it was no different, only this time it was Naruto being with Raikou and Asagi, while Mei was away in Kurigakura on an urgent case that popped up. The trio were resting on a bench outside the house, stargazing, and relaxing in each other's company, with Naruto in the center, with his wives on either side, resting their heads on his shoulders, enjoying the moment of peace and quiet while it lasted. And yet, like all such things were not meant to last, and the beautiful silence was broken up by a troubled sigh coming from Raikou, with Naruto picking up on her distress. "You've been sighing like this ever since we came here, Raikou," Naruto noted softly, as he gently ran his hand through her hair. "Are you still thinking about Konoha, and what they might do? It is hard not to, especially after what you did." Raikou noted, as she raised her head, and gazed in his eyes. "You shouldn't have gone there in person, much less given them such an offer. They're undeserving of it, not after what they had done to you," Raikou said with passion and anger, with Naruto gently reaching his hand and cupping her cheek, immediately melting her anger away. "You know, your beauty shines especially brightly when you show your fury on display, Raikou." Naruto complimented his wife, with her embracing his hand. "But you have nothing to worry about. Our meeting was meant to happen, sooner or later, and, as for whatever plan they may come up with, it is nothing that I have not accounted for." "You certainly sound quite sure of yourself," Asagi noted, getting his attention. "To be careful your confidence does not become arrogance, for it makes for a poor shield. I shall take care to do so, especially with you always keeping me away from such needless things, my dear," Naruto assured her, as he moved a stray lock of hair away from her face gently. "Do you think that they will actually accept your proposition? I would expect them to be too proud to admit that they are desperate for help," Raikou noted, as she laid on his chest, listening to his heartbeat. "Of course they are too proud to admit that they need help, and need this agreement, so in order to accept this sour pill, they shall come up with a plan to make this agreement into a scheme that will eventually win them the greatest boon possible, land of water itself," Naruto told his wives. "Konoha, and its leadership, as well as people, have long since come to view themselves as superior in every way, and they believe that they know who I am, and how to deal with me. My sudden appearance and show of power will be seen as smoke and mirrors to mask a supposed weakness, and my offer will be discerned as a move of desperation, possibly to stem away those who would wish to destroy me." "You mean, they will think that you rule and reign are weak, and that the people and nobles are itching to dethrone you, and return our land into a state of disorder and chaos?" Asagi asked Naruto, who nodded to her, with her chuckling at the idea. "They must truly be deluded in their contemplations and conclusions. Do they not know that the people see you as a deity, and that the nobles admire and love you for finally restoring peace and bringing them untold prosperity? That is the thing, Asagi. They will see this as falsehoods and propaganda that is spread around by me to make myself appear more than I am," Naruto stated to them. "In the past I was known to be quite a loudmouth, full of hot air and blisters, and in their mind, I am still the same old knuckle-headed boy that they are so used to dealing with, which is something that you used to get them to do what you wanted, did you not?" Raikou asked him with a small smile, already knowing the answer. "Appear weak when you are strong, and appear strong when you are weak. Someone has taken my advice to heart. I would be a foolish husband to ignore wise advice from my wife." Naruto chuckled, as he held Raiku's hand. "I still do not understand why go to such lengths if all you want is to get revenge on them for what they've done to you. Forgive them? Never, Asagi, and, as for revenge, this is it." Naruto motions to her, and Raikou, confusing her. "You, Raikou, Mei, Rei, and everyone else, this country, and my life right now, this is my revenge upon them. They have humiliated and belittled me, made my life hell, and denied me any right to rise up above the station they set for me, and now I stand above all of them, with a life and meaning that I never could have dreamed of, and most importantly, I have all of you. What better revenge I could ask for than this?" Naruto smiled at her, with Asagi smiling back, and leaning in to kiss him on his cheek. "So all we are for you is just a means to get back at them?" Raikou asked him jokingly. "What a shallow husband I have." At that moment, Naruto leaned in, and captured her lips in a loving kiss, catching Raikou by surprise, yet she did not detach herself away from Naruto. "Does my lady require more proof of how deep her husband can be?" Naruto asked her once he broke their kiss. "She might need a reminder about the full depth of her husband's love," Raikou said, as she leaned in to kiss him again, with Asagi simply shaking her head, waiting for their kiss to end, and then capture Naruto's lips with her own. "As she is getting a reminder, then I require it too," Asagi said with a husky tone, with Naruto smiling, before picking both of his wives up at the same time, and then carrying them to their bedroom, while they giggled along the way, before their giggles were replaced with moans and cries of pleasure, which would not abate until very dawn. A week and 2 days later. Kamakura. Daimyo's palace. Throne room. In the end, Naruto's proposition was accepted, and, as a show of goodwill and acceptance, the Fire Daimyo and Konoha have sent quite an array of gifts to show their readiness to this agreement. Jewels, gold, rare teapots, and famous swords were among just a few things that were sent here. But what truly caught the attention of Naruto and his court were the women that came along with those gifts. Sending women to become concubines or wives, as an affirmation of an agreement, was an established tradition that Naruto was familiar with, but he wasn't entirely expecting the Fire Daimyo and Konoha to send them here to him, though this was not unwelcome in his eyes. The sight of Hinata, dressed in the finest kimono, and with her beauty in complete display, was something that he definitely imagined, and the reality has beaten his imagination. The shy girl was still under his gaze, daring not to raise her head or to speak up, while Naruto observed and gazed upon her from his seat, admiring the beauty that she has become. Yet he did need to turn away from the object of his initial affections, and when he did, he was greeted by the sight of a raven-haired beauty with violet eyes. His beauty and appeal were enough to rival even some of the goddesses. Unlike Hinata, she dared to look him directly in the eyes, and in them played a wicked fire that promised things that men wished for, yet dared not ask for. But Naruto was not like most men, and Akeno Himejima clearly understood it. Though in the past he was not one to pay much attention to politics and rumors from the Fire Capital, now Naruto made it his job to be informed about such things in detail, for anything that was happening in other lands could have an effect on his own realm. To him, the name of Himejima clan was not unknown, as he was well informed about that once distinguished and prestigious clan, which had been wiped out simply out of the greed and pride of a weak-willed man. The Himejima clan was once one of the principal noble families in Land of Fire, owning vast swaths of fertile and rich lands, and commanding respect and power from their subjects, while also serving as among the more loyal subjects of the Fire Daimyo and court. That had continued for centuries, until Daimyo Yasuhide Sakura, a man whom Naruto considered to be as pathetic as he was foolish, decided to strip the Himejima of their ancestral holdings and land, without having any solid right to it. The Himejima rebelled, and everything seemed to be heading towards a massive internal conflict in the Land of Fire, until the Himejima clan were wiped out in a single night, with only the daughter of the Himejima lord and his wife, the sister of Yasuhide, surviving the attack. That was about 10 years ago, and now that same survivor was here, presented to him as a concubine by her uncle, who was clearly influenced by Konoha's leadership, who also did make a full use of this opportunity. Along with the two ladies, they sent a large entourage of ladies-in-waiting, servants, cooks, doctors, and more, with a great many of these same people being shinobi in disguise, ready and waiting to do their duty. It took Naruto a second to guess what their plan was, and he held himself from smirking at the idea that they would ever have any opportunity to harm him, his wives, or their future children. He has already anticipated something like that, and has taken care to ensure that all of these infiltrators would not live long enough to take a single breath in the direction of his wives, but that is for later. For now, he had official business to take care of. Our daimyo, Lord Yasuhide Sakura, sends you the best of wishes and regards, Lord Naruto Uzumaki, and has commanded us to inform you that your gracious offer has been accepted. The official envoy from Fire Daimyo stated, before turning and presenting the women. Heiress of noble and prestigious Hyuga clan, Hinata Hyuga, famed for her elegant looks and otherworldly beauty, and Lady Akeno Himejima, niece of Fire Daimyo himself, and a woman of matchless beauty and grace, unmatched by even the most dedicated ladies of court. Lord Asakura presents you to them to be your concubines, and wishes that they bring joy and happiness to you. In addition to them, he also sends you all of the gifts he could gather from his personal treasures, with first among them. I shall look at the trinkets later, thank you. Naruto interrupted him, before descending from his throne, and moving past the envoy, and coming near the two ladies, as they bowed on their knees to him. Ladies, do please rise. Such ladies, as you have no need to stand on your knees before me, especially when it hides your beauty from the eyes of others. At those words, Akeno rose up the first, looking straight into Naruto's eyes, while Hinata did so with far more nervousness in her movements, daring not to face Naruto directly, something that the envoy did not enjoy. Lord Naruto, please forgive Lady Hinata for her shyness. She is just the envoy, fearing that this would be taken as an insult, decided to intervene, but Naruto stopped him. There is nothing to be forgiven, for there is no insult made. Now, you, and the rest of your entourage, leave us. Naruto commanded him, catching the man off guard, while at the same time secretly giving a sign command to some of his hidden guards. But, my lord, this would be Naruto did not spare him a single look. Did I stutter? He asked of the envoy with a colder tone, with the man realizing that this was not up to debate. As you wish. And with this said, the throne room was quickly vacated by nearly all of the people, leaving Naruto with Akeno and Hinata, with the former bowing her head before him. Lord Naruto, it is a pleasure to make your acquaintance. I have heard many intriguing and interesting things about you, and I must say that most do not do you justice. Akeno said with a smile, with Naruto smiling at her. Lady Akeno, the pleasure is all mine. I must say that I am at a disadvantage, being presented with a woman of your charm and elegance, and meeting her in such conditions. Naruto replied, with Akeno chuckling at that. You need not worry with such things, my lord, for your welcome is the warmest I could have asked for. Akeno answered to him, with Naruto nodding to her, before turning to Hinata. Hinata. Naruto softly called to her, making her shudder a little, before she turned to face him, with a blush appearing on her cheeks, while he smiled at her. I am sorry I was unable to say anything to you back in Konoha, but please know that even all these years apart, you were in my warmest thoughts, and I am very happy to see you once again. My lord, such words are Hinata stammered, as she tried to speak, but Naruto gently put his hand to her cheek, and spoke. Please, Hinata. I may be a daimyo to most, but to those who are precious to me, I am still Naruto, so call me that. Naruto told her softly, restoring a bit of her confidence. Naruto, it is you. Hinata said softly, as the tears began to roll down her cheeks. It is me, Hinata. Naruto confirmed it to her. I see that you and Hinata have already been acquainted. Bakeno noted with interest. Yes, she is among the dearer persons to me, from the times when I was not the man I am now. Naruto replied, before gently rubbing away Hinata's tears with his hand. A woman like you needs not cry before me, Hinata. I know, but I can't help it, she said, as she gently took his hand in her own. All these years, I lived akin to being in a nightmare, in a world that lost all color and meaning to me. But with you back I can't stop thinking that all this is just a dream, and I don't want it to end. Then I won't let it end, Hinata, and this reality is your dream now. Naruto told her softly, finally managing to calm her down. From now, and until the end, I shall make it so. Such strong and passionate words I fear I now feel envious towards Hinata, for even I would wish for a lover to say such things to me. Bakeno said with a small giggle. But then again, you two are connected by more than mere affection that I can see. I can hope that in your heart there is room for more women wishing for your affection and care. You will find that my heart can encompass quite a few things and people. Naruto assured her, as he gently pulled away from Hinata. But for now, I fear I must ask you to forgive me, but it would seem that I have received a rather unexpected guest, and who I wish to speak to. And at that moment, 3 figures materialized before Naruto, 2 of them being his personal shinobi guards, and the other an ordinary-looking serving girl. Millard, as you have commanded, we brought you. One of the guards stated, with Naruto nodding to him. Well done, you may return to your post. And once this was said, the shinobi disappeared from sight. Today seems to be full of surprises for me. First I get to meet these fine ladies, and then I see you among the people who arrived with them. Tell me, does Lord Hokage know that you are here, or is this some sort of personal mission of yours? Naruto asked the girl, who seemed to be quite nervous, and unable to manage an answer. Millard, if I have displeased you in some form, she spoke with a fearful tone, before Naruto interrupted her. Let's dispense with the illusions. Your transformation is quite good, and the act is on point, but when it comes to me, there is nothing that escapes my sight, Natsu. Naruto called with a smile, shocking the girl, and forcing her to transform from the mere servant girl to the daughter 4th Hokage, and one of 9 tails Jinchuriki, Natsu Uzumaki Namikaze. Natsu has always considered herself to have inherited her father's mind and shrewdness, while her brother had received their mother's willful and wild persona, something that had clashed with her. While she was an Uzumaki, and did have certain principles instilled into her at birth, she happened to possess her own mind and will, and the ability to think for herself, and garner personal wishes and ambitions. Ambitions, which, as she had found out, did not go hand in hand with what her family, as well as the closest to them wanted out of her, and Menma, and this, had become a point of tension between her and the family. While Menma was always more than willing, and able to follow the plans their parents and Jiraiya had laid out for them, Natsu was not like that. Instead of simply following them, preferred to question, and, as for their validity, something that she was not always able to get out of her parents. Over time, this issue grew from a simple wish for understanding things to outright desire for her own life, an ability to decide what to do with it, especially after she had learned how their parents had manipulated lives of the entire village for their benefit, and worst of all, their abandoned brother, Naruto. She long since knew that to Minato and Kushina, Naruto was nothing more than a sacrifice that was needed to give them time to make Menma and Natsu into what they wanted them to be, and when the news of his premature death came, they were more irritated than saddened, while Menma did not have any feelings towards it whatsoever. Natsu, however, while she never met Naruto, felt saddened for what had happened to him, and did think that it was unjust that he was to die like that, being just a pawn in the game she was tired of being a piece of. Natsu's entire life was directed and controlled by her parents, and in their mind, as she understood it, she was nothing more than another pawn to gain even more power for their ridiculous dream of fulfilling a prophecy. For that purpose they've left Naruto, trained, and filled their brothers' heads with their ideas her entire life, and now that Jiraiya and her father deemed that Menma alone would suffice, as the so-called child of destiny, they decided to use Natsu in a different way. Having grown up at the Fire Daimyo court and seen for what it really is, she could not stomach the idea of going there, and being a concubine or wife to one of Daimyo's sons, without any prospect of a future was something she couldn't stomach. Therefore, instead of becoming another necessary sacrifice for the good of Konohagakure, she fled it, a village that had failed to become her home, and people who were never able to become anything more than strangers. The choice of where to flee came suddenly, after she had finally had a chance to see Naruto, revived, and return from death, only not as a pawn of Konoha, but as a water daimyo, and someone who made them all quake with his mere appearance. When he had appeared, Natsu put a facade of animosity and readiness to fight, but that was only to hide the fact that, the moment she saw him, he had shaken, and shook her to the very core. Naruto was a representation of what a true ruler, and a man who forged his own path was supposed to be, nothing like her own father, and Fire Daimyo, who had left everything in the hands of others. He spoke, and carried himself, as a true mighty ruler would, showed strength and reason, even though he had every right to fight them. When he spoke, Natsu felt his power and might, and in that moment, in that very room, Naruto was the power, while her father could not even reach up to his shadow. A single meeting was more than enough to convince Natsu that if there is someone who can help her escape her fate, it was him, and so she decided to go to the land of water in secret. The only thing she didn't account for was being discovered, and now being forced to reveal herself right now, and so she dispelled her transformation, revealing a girl who would soon be considered a woman. Long, flowing blonde hair reaching to her back, wild and lush, creating a mane like that of a lion, coupled with violet eyes, and a figure many in Konoha were envious of, with a mature body. Full of high-toned body, strong legs, and wide hips, all covered in a brown jacket with black shirt underneath, brown shorts, and high boots. She had inherited the mind of her father, and a beauty of an Uzumaki, while also gaining an interest in knowledge and learning, strengthening both her mind and body, and now she was here, present before her once brother, who looked at her with a small smile. "How did you recognize me?" Natsu asked him, with Naruto responding. "Your transformation was quite good, and you've chosen a good place to blend in with the scenery, so to speak. You have even gone an extra mile to hide your chakra from any possible censors, something I have to commend you on doing." Naruto spoke with a respectable tone, while Natsu couldn't help but feel pleased at hearing that. "Under normal circumstances, you would have gone unnoticed even by the shinobi of the leaf or most of my guards, be they samurai or shinobi. However, I am not most men, and there are very few things that can hide from me. Still, an excellent attempt at an infiltration, Natsu. You have certainly fared far better than your compatriots from Konoha, they were all too easy to spot. So you do know that there are spies and shinobi from Konoha in the entourages." Natsu was surprised to hear him having figured it out already. "Of course. I was expecting them to send at least a few of their own infiltrators in here, to finally gain their own people in Kamakura and Land of Water, and what better opportunity than this one?" Naruto asked her. "I would have been more surprised if they didn't do so, but enough about them. Let's talk about you, and what exactly are you doing here, Natsu? Maybe I am part of the infiltrators, sent in here to make a first-hand record of the situation in Land of Water, and then to report back my findings, using my disguise, as a way to sneak around undetected," Natsu suggested, challenging Naruto to make his own conclusions, with him only chuckling at it. "I may have been trained by my parents, but, as you have noticed, I am an able infiltrator myself. That you are, however, just because you have the skills for it doesn't mean that Hokage or the council would ever allow you to leave on such a mission, much less come here of all places," Naruto responded, before explaining what he thought. "You are one of 2 Jinchuriki of 9-tailed beast, a symbol of power and might of Konoha, and a guarantee that the other villages do not attack it. As such, it is of utmost importance that you remain somewhere where people can look after you, or rather, watch over you, and this is the last place to do so. Even if you were here on a mission, you would not be here alone, and the escort would treat you in a different manner from a simple serving girl, meaning that they do not know who you really are. My guess is that you have come here out of your own free will, without the blessing or permission of Hokage or even his, and Konoha's knowledge, possibly having left a clone or 2 to simulate you still being there. Have you come here to defect from the leaf?" Naruto asked suddenly, shocking Hinata, and surprising both Akeno and Natsu. "Naruto, why do you think she would do such a thing?" Hinata asked him, unable to comprehend the very idea of it happening. "Because a girl, who is clever enough to make it all the way here, without being detected by anyone, including censors, wouldn't have come here simply for a talk," Naruto responded, with Natsu again being amazed at how easily he read her. "She is not like her mother or brother, where they tried to speak to me when I appeared. She listened, and listened with such intent that I rarely see. In fact, she listened, and analyzed what I said better than all of Konoha's council, from the way I saw it in their eyes. And now, she's here. I could be here to try and kill you, since you could obviously be plotting against Konoha. Better to be rid of you sooner rather than later." At that one, Naruto actually laughed aloud. "Do you think I am incapable of doing so?" "Quite the opposite. I think you would have the better chance than anyone in that group behind that door, but I doubt you would have been so bold as to attempt it, at least not without a solid plan of escape. Besides, we both know what would happen if I were to be killed today at the hand of the Leaf Village's Jinchuriki." Naruto could clearly see that Natsu understood what he meant. "With all of that out of the way, it leaves only defection, so I have to ask, what is your reason for being here?" "My lord, I believe I can provide you the answer, if you will hear me." The Keno spoke with a soft tone and a knowing smile, with Naruto turning and giving her permission with a nod. In the time Namika's family were present at the court and served Fire Daimyo, Natsu has become an object of fascination and one of Fire Daimyo's third son, a fact widely known by all in the court, including Daimyo and her parents. Before I left the capital, I heard that Fire Daimyo and Lord Hokage had finalized their decision to have Natsu become the wife of said son, while her parents would solve her fox problem before the wedding. And so, instead of being married to one of Fire Daimyo's sons, and living a life that thousands of girls dream of, you have fled Konoha, throwing away your life, duty, family, and everything related to it. Naruto turned to Natsu, seeing that Akeno was right on the money. Quite self-centered, as a daughter of the fourth Hokage, so much so that I am actually impressed. They can marry those thousands that dream about it, but I know what my life would be if I were to be married off to that pig, and I would sooner slit my throat than be forced to lay next to him, or even touch him. Natsu said with a clear poison in her tone. And, as for Konoha, it was never my home, and its people have failed to become my own. As for my family, they have made it clear that I am only a means to an end for them now. So you have become unneeded for them, as a Jinchuriki, and instead they have found a new purpose for you, and you've decided to resist, and rebel against it. Naruto concluded. And so you have come here to me, probably the last person who normally would have helped you, under standard circumstances. Yet you are not a normal person, not like those in Fire Capital, and Konoha. I noticed, and since when you first appeared, and after you made your case, I figured that, at the very least, you would understand me. Natsu said, before recalling what she had learned about his life. Although it was arrogant of me to assume that our situations are the same, as well as the circumstances. That is true, and I do understand your situation. Clearly, you are not like most Konoha, and even your family. You came here, and the way you made your conclusions is evidence of that. Naruto said to her. However, I am certain that it goes without saying that your mere presence here puts the agreement I have tried to achieve with Konoha and Fire Country in jeopardy, and that soon, if not already, your absence has been discovered. And once it is discovered, your father and the council will think that either the Akatsuki have gotten a hold of you, or, which in current circumstances is more plausible, they will think that I have kidnapped you. Possibly for personal reasons, or to gain a tailed beast, since it is known that Kurigakure doesn't have one. Maybe, but had you wanted to, you would have gotten a hold of one of such beasts years ago on your own. Natsu noted, with Naruto not denying it. True, but that is beside the point. So, Natsu, tell me, why should I not just send you back to your village, in order to preserve this pact? Naruto asked her. Because first of all, this pact you are making will not last, and you know it better than anyone. Just because you have made the first move, does not mean that you actually want it to last longer than you needed. Natsu told Naruto. However, I can see that you won't just let me stay if I ask you, so I can give you something that you do not have. Information. I know about my father's plans, and what he, Jiraiya, council, and even Fire Daimyo are planning. In fact, both Hinata and Akeno here were sent to seduce you, and to bear your children, and after they were born, the shinobi in their entourages, with the support of the Anbu, would assassinate you, and all of your other wives, and possible children. After that, Fire Daimyo would assume full control of this country through the children, as puppets. After hearing that, Hinata widened her eyes in shock, for she did not know that this was why she really was here, while Akeno simply dropped her smile. What you have just described is what I have already deduced, Natsu. This was one of the more plausible things that Konoha and Fire Daimyo would attempt to do, and I have already been prepared for such an occasion. Naruto revealed it to them, surprising Hinata again by this revelation. And while I am certain you have other things to share with me, I am still debating whether the value of what you have will outweigh the risks I am taking by entertaining you here. I can tell you the reason why father and mother have made you into a sacrifice for Konoha, Naruto. Natsu decided to play this card. Maybe you do not care about getting revenge at this point, but, as I am certain you know, information can be a very powerful asset, and this information will reveal to you the mindset of your opponents. Tempting, and while that does sound promising, I can't help but wonder, for what purpose would I keep you? Naruto suddenly asked her. Well, Kurigakure does not have a Jinchuriki, I can't assume the role, since it would jeopardize my plans, and having you here is also out of the question. Speaking of, what do you really want, Natsu? Me? You are asking me what I want, even though you've already guessed it all. Natsu asked him. I guess why you came here, but I suspect that it is only a means to an end, isn't it? Naruto asked her, shocking and surprising Natsu, with her deciding to say what he wanted to hear. I want to decide my own life, and who I want to be, instead of being someone's pawn or a means to an end for someone. All my life, I've been told that I was special, and that my fate and life were already determined, and that if I were to listen to Jiraiya, father, and mother, I would fulfill it. At first, it confused me, and I tried to learn more about it, but I didn't get any answers, instead only training, pain, and failure at being unable to gain control over the Nine Tails. Natsu began talking. When I had gotten older, I learned about the prophecy that my father and mother are so obsessed over, as well as about you and their plans. I realized that I am not living the life I wanted. I was existing only as an instrument of their design, and all I had learned, was taught, and trained, all of it was so that I would do my part in their plan. I grew sick and tired of being a pawn in the hands of parents who think me too willful and rebellious for my own good, and who believe that what they are doing is best for all, without considering what I want. I didn't want to be a weapon of Konoha, nor a pawn or Jinchuriki, and now I don't want to be sold like a cow for someone who only cares about my looks, and doesn't understand or cares to understand me. To him, I would be just a pretty toy to play with, before forgetting about it, worse than it was with my parents. So I ran away, well, also with the power of the 9 tails inside of me, to you, because I was hoping you would understand, and help me. Once Natsu had finished with her tale, tears started to well up in her eyes, while Naruto considered what to do, before speaking up. Reku, Asagi, Mei, Rei. He called for his wives, and they appeared from their hiding spots in the throne room, revealing that they had heard, and seen all that had transpired. What do you think about it all? From the political standpoint, it would be best to send her back to the Leaf Village, preferably in such a way that it would not cause anyone to think that we had any hand in her absence. Reku said, with Asagi agreeing, before she took a closer look at Natsu, and spoke again with a softer voice. However, there is more than just politics involved, from the looks of things. The decision is ultimately yours, Naruto. We will abide by it. Reku assured him, with Naruto letting out a sigh, coming to a decision. Yes, you are right, Reku. Natsu Namikaze's presence in the land of water is a problem, hence why Natsu Namikaze should disappear, wouldn't you agree? Naruto asked her, confusing Natsu and his new concubines quite a bit. Rei, will it be possible for you to hide her within the clan without Konoha learning about her? It will be possible, and from what I have observed, she will have an easy time integrating into it. Rei assured her, shocking Natsu when she heard it. All that is needed is to give her a new name, in place of her old one. Wait, you are actually going to accept me here? What about the threat to the agreement and your plans, and what about the 9 tails? She immediately asked Naruto, with Mei speaking up. Well, 9 tails is a valuable price for any village. We of the Kurigakure already have means that would counter tailed beasts, and with our current situation, as stable as it is right now, we have no need for them. Even if the war breaks out, we would have more than enough forces to fight it effectively, and win. Mei assured her with a smile. And, as for the risk to the agreement, leave it up to us to deal with it. You're actually Natsu's tears beginning to fall from her eyes, with Naruto smiling at her. You can relax now, I have made my decision, and when I make it, I stand by it. Now then, you will need a new identity, if you are going to be living here in Kamakura, and since you will be in the Uzumaki clan, it would stand to reason for you to use that name, since we still have clansmen who arrive. Naruto told her, with Natsu understanding him. Now then, what name do you wish to have, as your own? A name? I don't even know which one to pick. She admitted honestly. Perhaps it would be best to let Naruto do it for you. He is the head of Uzumaki clan, and such things are in his domain of decision. Rei said with a smile, with Naruto pondering about it for a second, before speaking up. I have decided on the name. Your name shall be Akari Uzumaki. What do you think of it? He asked her, with her accepting it with a smile. Yes, thank you Naruto. Now Akari Uzumaki thanked Naruto, bowing before him. What is it that you wish for me, Naruto, now that I am? Nothing that you may think I would need or want from someone like you. For now, your job is to settle in your new life, and get accustomed to it. Rei will assist, and support you during your acclimatization, so do not be afraid to ask her for help, and be open to the clan, and people to it. Naruto stated to her. As for the information you have about Konoha, and its plans, we will talk about it later. Once you have settled in, then you may decide what you wish to do. What do you mean by that? Akira was surprised to hear him say those words. Exactly what it sounds like. It is now your life, and it is you who should decide how to live it. I shall not force or demand you to do anything. If I do have need of you, I will first ask you to assist me, not enforce my will. Naruto stated, before turning to Keno and Hinata. The same goes to both of you. You may have been sent here with the expectations of being used by your respective homelands, and me, but you have my word that you shall not have to fear for your safety or honor. While you are here, you will be treated by me and everyone else as honored guests and my friends, and you may enjoy all the benefits of it. Hinata and Akeno bowed their heads to it. It is most gracious of you, Millard, but what about your right upon us? Akeno asked him with a suggestive smile. As our lord and daimyo, you do possess the right to make use of me and Lady Hinata in an intimate manner, or a carnal one, should your heart desire it. Shall we be expected to fulfill such wishes, Millard? The flirty tone of Akeno clearly showed that she was more than a little for him to use such rights upon her, while Hinata immediately blushed crimson red, and averted her gaze from Naruto. Like I have stated, I will not force you to do anything that you do not wish. Naruto reiterated his earlier statement, with Akeno's gaze gaining a mischievous glint in it. And what if we were not opposed, but rather open, and welcome for you to make use of it? Akeno asked him, licking her lips a little bit, showing clearly just how open she was with the idea. You have quite a way of showing your willingness, Lady Akeno. Naruto noted with a smile, while she giggled at his words. We have only just met, yet you already say such things to me. Are you really so dedicated to the purpose your uncle set up, or is this something else? Personally, I couldn't care less about what my uncle wishes for. And while we may have just met, I did make sure to hear and learn as much as I could about you, and after seeing you act and decide things today, as well as display your mind. Akeno took a small pause, as she felt her cheeks set ablaze a little with the blush. I fear that you have now conquered me, in mind, and now my body wishes for you to claim it as your price, my lord. My, what a bold girl, I think we'll get along quite well. Mei said with a suggestive smile, with Raku simply smiling at that, while Asagi let out a sigh, with Rei chuckling to it. I see that coyness is not something that you are afflicted with. Naruto noted with a small chuckle. If you wish, I can always play coy and bashful, Millard. I am simply far more open-minded to such things, and decisive, especially when it is something that I desire and want. Akeno stated with clear passion in her eyes. I can see that. We shall discuss this at a later date, Lady Akeno. I think it is time to inform the envoy that his gift has been accepted. Naruto stated to them, before turning to Hinata, and at that moment, his jovial mood soured and disappeared as he looked at her. Hinata, what is wrong? You look, and at that moment, he saw blood trailing down from her nostrils and eyes. Naruto was all that she had managed to utter, before she was unable to remain standing, and fell down, with only Naruto quickly intervening, and catching her, gently laying her down on the floor. Guards, lock down the palace, and let none get out. Naruto instantly commanded with a booming powerful voice, before he turned to Hinata. Hinata, what is wrong? What is this? Naruto's eyes immediately shifted from their normal look to Sharingan, and when he saw what had happened to her, it shook him to the core. With his enhanced vision, he was able to see the chakra in her body fade and disappear, as the life in her body was extinguished and gone, and the cause of it all were several hidden seals, placed upon her head, and hidden by the hair, and over her heart. Naruto, having been trained by Madara Uchiha and Amaterasu, was not just familiar with sealing arts, but was their master, and it took him only a second to discern what they were. Suicide seals, specially designed to kill a person upon their activation via a concentrated burst of chakra at a specific point, and in this case those points were the heart and brain. There was not a chance for Hinata to have survived both of those going off at the same time, and Naruto could clearly see that those were not made by her hand, or were used by her. He thought he had Konoha, and his people figured out, but he underestimated the malice, pride, and arrogance of the Hyuga clan, for the formula used in those seals were distinctly similar to those that they utilized in their caged bird seal. They just could not allow themselves to let Hinata go and be happy, especially with someone like him, and so instead of suffering a wound upon their pride, they instead decided to be rid of her, preferably in such a way that it would hurt him. And they had achieved their goal, for Hinata Hyuga, the first person to ever believe in Naruto, treat him as a human being, and show him affection and love, to make him an example for herself, passed away in his own arms, minutes after he had promised her that she would live a life that she dreamed of. A single tear fell from Naruto's face when realization had set in, but sadness and grief gave way to fury and anger that welled in his heart, and this time, there was no quelling it. The Hyuga clan, or rather its main family branch, had just signed their death warrants, and Naruto wasn't going to wait around to collect them. Meanwhile, Konoha, Hyuga clan estate. The elders and the clan head, as well as Hanabi Hyuga and most of the main family members, were present at the discussion that regarded their now former heiress and member of the main branch family, Hinata. Though Hanabi was now heiress, and was supposed to feel indifferent, and even glad towards her older sister's demise, in truth, she was barely containing herself from crying, and running away, after learning what these people, including her father, had done to her. To sit here, and listen to them disparage Hinata like this, as well as openly stating how it was better for her to have died, rather than being happy. It showed to Hanabi the true extent of Hyuga clan's rot, and depravity that took hold of the main family. Contrary to the beliefs of her father, elders, and others, Hanabi never harbored any bad thoughts or feelings towards Hinata, instead adoring and cherishing her like any normal younger sibling would. She did not care if her sister was supposedly weaker than she was in terms of abilities or talent with Byakugan, because instead Hinata had a gentle and kind heart that was the complete opposite of what their father possessed. It was Hinata who had raised Hanabi to be who she was, treated her not as a princess, but as a person, and who was always able to make Hanabi be herself, instead of what her father wanted them to be. Even when they were separated due to Hinata becoming shinobi, and Hiashi de facto disowning her, they remained strongly connected, and, as close as they could be. It was thanks to Hanabi that Hinata had managed to get over her grief and depression, following the death of Naruto Uzumaki, and his unjust posthumous treatment by the Leaf, with Hanabi too being saddened by the fact that Sasuke Uchiha killed him. Like her sister, over the time he had become a shinobi, she grew to admire and respect him for his willingness to put himself on the line for his friends, and never giving up, and Hanabi had to admit to herself that she had developed a small crush on him. to find out that he was killed by his own teammate, then to see his name mixed with mud, and then to top it all off with the fact that his parents and family were all actually alive. And while all this time Hanabi could not believe just how cruel fate was towards him, and grew to despise the leadership of the Leaf for what had been allowed to happen. It would take Hinata years to recover from her loss, as with Hanabi always there to help her, and to heal herself from the loss of a person she admired, and even aspired to be. Yet, the day when he had returned and showed himself to the council, along with Hinata and Hanabi, who was also present at that event, was one that was etched into her memory. She, along with her sister, couldn't get their eyes away from him, and while his own were directed to Hinata, and not to her, Hanabi was more than happy to see him, and to witness him reignited Hinata's soul with but a single look. And when it was announced that Hinata would actually go to Kamakura to him, to be with him, as his official concubine, Hanabi couldn't help but be happy for Hinata, seeing, as her dream was coming true, while suppressing a small pang of envy and jealousy in her heart. Finally, after all she had to suffer, Hinata could be happy with the man she loved, and who would undoubtedly care and love her back. Now it was revealed to her that this was not to be, and that a clan had just potentially started a war between Fire Country and Naruto, and they were sitting here, celebrating what they saw as their major victory over a great enemy. Finally, the main branch has been purified of any remaining weakness, and that worthless mongrel shall learn what happens when he tries to take something that belongs to the Hyuga. Hyuga Hasashi, grandfather of Hinata and Hanabi, and father to Hiashi, spoke with pride and a smile. By now, the procession should have reached Kamakura and met with Naruto, and that means that Hinata's time is done. Yes, although it is unfortunate we wouldn't be able to see the look on that mutt's face when he sees his prize fall dead before his very eyes, after thinking that he has gotten what he wanted. One of the main family members said with a sinister chuckle. And like any worthless dog, he shall bark and roar all he wants, but in the end, he is nothing but a toothless dog with no fangs to bite. How can you be so certain that he won't retaliate against Konoha for this, and that he won't cancel out the agreement he has made with the Fire Daimyo and Hokage? Hanabi decided to ask what she saw as the most obvious question, as even in her hidden rage and grief, she could understand what will happen when Naruto finds out all about it. The rumors are correct about his military prowess, and the amount of forces and powers he can command, then we may well be facing a new great shinobi war. There shouldn't be any war between Konoha and Naruto, Hanabi, because that blistering idiot will not dare to break an agreement he has put so much effort into establishing. Besides, he may indeed bark loud, but he is indeed a toothless dog, and who can't even maintain his own power in the land of water. Hasashi stated without a care for consequences. I have it on good authority that all that Naruto can do is only seek for allies and friends in this hour of desperation, and he won't dare to turn the leaf away from him, even after what we have done. And besides, even if he decides to come here complaining, we have all of Konoha ready to stand up for us, with Minato Namikaze more than willing, and able to put an end to his unruly offspring. Another elder spoke, with Hanabi seriously doubting it. And even without Konoha, he wouldn't dare to insult or attack the Hyuga clan with his meager and weak forces, or personally for that matter. With our martial prowess and power of Byakugan, we will easily end anyone who would dare to do us harm. At that moment, all of the people in the room heard some loud commotion going on outside. What is going on out there? I told the nurses to keep the children in their rooms today, so as to not disturb them. Hiashi wasn't able to finish his sentence, as at that moment, 2 guards from Branch family flew through the closed doors of the hall, breaking them apart. From the open gap stepped Naruto Uzumaki in person, dressed not in his fine blue royal clothes, but instead of black and red lacquered armor with white coat over it all, with his trusted sword in his left hand. Stopping not to say a thing, he strode into the hall, caring not a bit for the surprised looks on their faces, nor to even explain himself, as he moved slowly to the center of the room, before reaching it, and then having Hasashi speak up. What is the meaning of all this? Hasashi cried out, as he and other Hyuga rose up, activating their Byakugan. How dare you barge in here like some thug? And before Hasashi could finish the sentence, Naruto's right hand reached for his blade, and then unsheathed it, taking Hasashi's head in one smooth motion. Before it could even detach from the neck and body and fall down, Naruto went on to give the same treatment to every single elder and main family member present, hacking them down in a single move, decapitating them with such ease that it made him look like he was Hanabi was smart enough to have moved to the far end of the room and not turn against him, instead being subjected to him slaughtering the entire leadership of her clan and making it look as if he wasn't even breaking a sweat. He moved with speed and force that Hanabi couldn't even believe was possible, while Hyuga seemed to have frozen in place, and was unable to do anything against this force of nature. In a mere minute, without uttering a single sound or word, Naruto Uzumaki had eradicated nearly all of the main branch family Hyuga clan, leaving only Hanabi and Hiashi alive. Once he was done decapitating the last member before Hiashi, Naruto turned to him, swinging his sword to clean it of the blood it had gathered, before moving to the supposed head of the Hyuga clan. Hiashi, led by primal fear and desire to save his life, stepped backwards and reached the wall behind him before Naruto reached him and pointed his sword at Hiashi, the tip touching his neck and already cutting it, drawing a little blood. It was only then that Naruto finally spoke up. I have only one question. Does she mean nothing to you, your own daughter? Naruto asked him in an ice-cold tone, his eyes looking directly into Hiashi's. She was a weak and feeble child who was unworthy of her privileges, and Hiashi spoke with fear and stuttered, yet unable to lie for some reason, with Naruto having heard enough and thrusting his sword into Hiashi's throat. After he withdrew his blade from it, Hiashi's body fell down onto the floor, staining it with the great amount of blood that kept flowing out of the open wound. Caring not for the dead, Naruto's gaze finally turned to Hanabi, who was all but ready to resign herself to whatever fate awaited her. However, instead of taking her life, Naruto simply wiped his blade and finally sheathed it before speaking to Hanabi. You're Hanabi, Hinata's younger sister, are you not? Naruto asked her with his tone changing to a neutral one. Yes. Hanabi answered, after compassing and collecting herself. I am. We weren't officially introduced, but I've seen you many times before your death, and I noticed you paying me attention back then, as did your sister. Naruto answered to her, interrupting her panic-induced rambling before it began. Did you know what your father and the elders have done to Hinata? He asked her the question, with Hanabi, finally calm enough to speak normally, answered. Yes, they had Kay killed, right when she was to meet you. She said with tears in her eyes. I learned about it only now. Had I knew that they would, I would have stopped them, but I believe you, Hanabi. Naruto simply stated to her, surprising Hanabi with his response. Only a blind fool would be unable to see how deeply you loved Hinata. If it were in my power, I would have done everything to save her, bring her back from death. Naruto started with a sad sigh, with Hanabi's eyes seeing his strong expression change to one of deep regret and sadness, seeing how he too was hurt with what had occurred. I know, and thank you, for inspiring her and making her feel alive again, Hanabi said, before she surveyed the room. And for avenging her. I fear I would not be able to do it on my own, even if I had tried. Maybe. But this is small recompense, when compared to who they have taken away from life. Naruto commented, as he looked with disgust at the lying bodies. Revenge of such kind is a remedy that doesn't heal, only numbs the pain for a time, before leaving a sensation of emptiness and void, while blinding the mind and soul. Such a thing is rarely worth bothering to achieve, and now that they are dead, I can see that I was right in that regard. Then Hanabi realized that this was not something he had done with any serious planning ahead. It was a moment when my mind was silenced by my rage, and now it is past. Naruto let out a sigh, before turning towards the exit. I've left those members of Hyuga who were on my way here alive. Will you be able to get what is left of your clan under control? I will be. Hanabi told him, with Naruto nodding to her and moving to leave. Naruto. She called out to him, making him stop in his tracks, and turned to him. I don't know if Hinata had been able to tell you before they took her away, but all this time she always loved you, Naruto, no matter what had happened. Hanabi said to him with sadness in her eyes, with her seeing a glint of grief in his eyes. I know. And I'm sorry I will not be able to return her feelings now. Naruto responded. Thank you, Hanabi. Farewell. And with this, Water Daimyo disappeared from the room. Minutes later the Hyuga estate would be swarming with shinobi and Anbu, with Hokage and much of his council arriving, as well to learn of what had happened. When they witnessed the massacre that had taken place, and demanded to know the identity of the culprit, Hanabi Hyuga, who by then had fully regained her senses, stated to them that this was an internal matter of the Hyuga clan, and that the Leaf had no business getting involved in it. The tone and manner in which she had addressed them was not one of a princess or a figurehead like Hiashi, but one that belonged to a real leader and head of Hyuga clan, while Hokage and council demanded explanations from her. Hanabi only stated that what had transpired was a matter that needed to be solved in the clan for generations now, and she was glad it was done, and, as for who had done, all she said that it was someone she considered to be closer to her than her own father was. It would only be 2 days later when the news about the incident in Kamakura Palace reached the council, and that would finally put all of the pieces in place. Still, despite what had transpired, Naruto Uzumaki would still hold true to his word, and the pact would be signed, despite the attempts by the Hyuga clan to jeopardize it all. And at the same time, Hanabi would fully assume the leadership role of Hyuga clan, with her first edict and act being the abolishment of the branch family system, and complete freedom of the Hyuga from the caged bird seal. With nearly all of the main family dead, there were none who would dare to oppose her decision, and finally, after centuries of division and strife, the Hyuga clan was reunited into one family, with Hanabi as its leader. Her next ambition and decision would prove to be even more ambitious and daring than the one she made before, for it would shake the very foundation of the Land of Fire and Konoha in the weeks to come. 2 weeks later. Land of Wind. Hidden Sand Village. Not for the first time Tamari of the Sand was silently cursing in her head the situation that her family and village have found themselves in right now. while she was away on a mission to the river's capital. As an envy of Gar, the hidden sand came under the attack of the Akatsuki, with Gar responding and fighting one of them personally, doing all in his power to prevent him from harming the village. While initially everything seemed to be going smoothly, and Gar was winning, the tables had soon turned, and he was disabled and captured by the Akatsuki. In addition, if that was not bad enough, Kankuro, without waiting for any reinforcements or support, headed out after the Akatsuki himself, and was only discovered in the morning, beaten, wounded, and poisoned, with his puppets in ruins. Tamari herself arrived about the same time in the village, and found its leadership in a state of indecisiveness, and unable to come up with a solid enough plan on what to do. Quickly taking charge of things, Tamari assumed the temporary leadership role, as she was one of the higher-ranking jonins in the village, as well as being the elder sister of Gar. She immediately sent out squads to search and pursue Gar, while also making sure to keep their borders secure, given that Iwagakure's shinobi in recent years have become a bit too restless for their liking. As for Kankuro, he was immediately sent to the hospital to be treated, and while the poison that was infecting him was not known to even their elder siblings, Tamari was lucky to have brought along with her from her travels none other than Tsunade Senju herself. The former 5th Hokage of the Hidden Leaf Village was on her way back from an old shrine of Senju clan to pay respects to her ancestors when she ran into Tamari in River's capital, offering her to visit the Sand Village as a gesture of friendship between them, for unlike with the rest of the Leaf, Tamari and her siblings had good relations with Tsunade. The Slug Princess agreed. Perhaps it was some kind of a divine intervention that had taken place back then, but right now Tamari didn't care, and was simply happy to have Tsunade healing Kankuro. She was surprised at how quickly the former 5th Hokage was able to take charge of the situation in the hospital, deduce the properties of the poison's effect, and then get on to getting it out of Kankuro, proving to all who saw her that she was indeed the best healer in the entire world. In the meantime, Tamari was stuck dealing with the council, after she had learned that they had acted behind her back in a way she really hated. It gave you the right to request immediate assistance from the Leaf Village. I have made it absolutely clear that we should not get them involved in this matter. Tamari was practically fuming at the fact that her direct order was ignored. You may have given us such an order, Tamari, but you are not our Kazukiage, and your personal feelings are clearly clouding your judgment at this very moment. We all know that out of all the villages, it is the Leaf who are the most available to help us at the moment, and they have the most amount of information in regards to the Akatsuki. Furthermore, they have already replied, and informed us that they already have a team headed our way to help bolster our ranks against the Akatsuki, who had left prior to the attack. One of the counselors, who was a pro-Leaf supporter, stated, to turn down their assistance right now would be at the very least a foolish move, especially considering how Lord Kazukiage has been making ventures to restore our relations with them. This occasion could serve as a means to finally stabilize our relations. Maybe so, but why didn't they relay to us the information about the Akatsuki coming here, if they knew about it beforehand? That would have gone a long way to establishing those relations you are so worried about. Tamari noted with a glare. And while we may be again on speaking terms, Kazukiage has made it abundantly clear that we are not yet allies, and that to trust the Leaf, and allow them to participate in our matters more than they already do would be foolish. Which, in the opinion of me, and several of the members of this council, is a decision that was made unwisely, and in the current circumstances, has no valid power behind itself. The same councillor responded, nearly making Tamari take out her fan, and blasting him out of here. And besides, it is clear that Lord Kazukiage has made such a decision only because of one thing, and that is because he was smart enough to realize that to blindly trust Konoha, or in your case, play their advocate, as you do now, is an error we cannot afford to let happen. A different councillor spoke up, one who was firmly in Gar's camp. You have acted without the consent of either Lady Tamari or the council's knowledge, since not all of us were present when you made that decision. I hope you realize just what that means for you, when Lord Kazukiage returns. More like if he returns. The councillor replied. Careful with your words, councillor. You are already treading on thin ice, as it is, and one more wrong word, and nobody will be willing to save you. Tamari threatened him. And, as for assistance, since it is clear that this council, or at least part of it, is unable to effectively cooperate with the leadership of this village, I have taken liberty, and called in assistance from our more trustworthy, and notable ally, Kurigakure. It would take at least 5 days for them to reach our village, and even if they do send help, do you honestly think that they will dispatch someone who will actually be able to help us? The councillor asked in an almost mocking manner, before the door into the chambers opened. What is this? Don't you know that we are having an important discussion, and we are not to having discussions while your Kazukiage is missing, instead of doing everything you can to find him, or at the very least, secure the village from any potential attack. Naruto Uzumaki, dressed in his armor, and with his weapon on him, stepped inside, while accompanied by 3 of his bodyguards, shocking everyone inside, including Tamari. I see that the council here, and Konoha have quite a few things in common. Lord Uzumaki what are you doing here? One of the younger jonins rose up in shock, and addressed him. providing assistance, as was requested by your current de facto Kazukiage, while Gaara is captured. Naruto responded, before turning to Temari. No offense, Temari, I'd rather not waste time, so fill me in on what had happened. Alright, follow me, I'll tell you everything on the way to the hospital wing. Temari got over her shock, and moved to Naruto, prepared to leave the chambers, when Konoha, a supporting counselor, rose up in protest. This is outrageous. You do not seriously expect Tsunagaku to accept assistance from a daimyo of another country. This is not how things are supposed to be. He was practically wrecking his brain, trying to come up with excuses, with Naruto not sparing him a glance, before he, Temari, and his guards left the chambers. What an interesting chap. Such a shame I don't have any of his kind at my court and council. Naruto sarcastically noted with a chuckle, with Temari chuckling to it. He has been in Konoha's pocket since the day we signed the peace treaty after the invasion. We've known about it for a long time. Temari said, before letting out a sigh. Thank you, Naruto, for coming. When I had sent that request, I will admit that I didn't expect you personally to respond so fast at that. Then it seems fate is on your side today, Temari, because normally I wouldn't have found out about your request so soon. I was Kurigaku, inspecting the shinobi forces, and their readiness for combat, when your letter arrived. Once it was deciphered, and I was informed of their contents, I didn't waste time, and grabbed only my most immediate guards, and teleported here. Naruto explained to her. Gaara is a very good friend, and is dear to me, and I am not in the habit of letting such friends like him get hurt. I know, and had it been you, Gaara would personally see to it that you were rescued. Temari assured him, with Naruto nodding to him. Anyway, this is what we know so far, and with this she went on to explain what she knew at the moment, with Naruto listening intently to her. Those clay bombs you have mentioned, Kai, wasn't there some rogue Iwa shinobi who specialized in that? He was reported to have made several appearances during the Civil War, if my memory serves me right. Naruto asked the sole female guard that was accompanying him. Yes, Tadara of the Hidden Rock Village. He was a prominent member of Iwa's Saboteur Corps, or the Explosion Corps, as it is also known, being a specialist in utilizing special clay for explosives, which he could manipulate, and make it take many different physical properties. Kai Uzumaki, an ninjutsu specialist from Uzumaki clan, a red-haired woman with dark brown eyes, dressed in light armor of black color, responded. He was considered a prodigy, and a genius when it came to demolitions and explosives, but was also somewhat unhinged, and obsessed with what he called his art, namely the explosives. In the end, he went on to bomb his own village just as a show of his mastery and art, and since then he became a rogue shinobi. The bombs that you've just described are something that only he could possibly make. He was the one who had attacked and defeated Gaara. Does he also have a proficiency with poisons, by any chance? Temari asked her, with Kai shaking her head. No, he is solely dedicated to his own explosives, so poisons would be out of his reach. Kai responded. Then the one who had fought Kankura was Tadara's partner, and the one who had slaughtered the unit we placed on the wall, while also placing traps there, as well. Temari noted. When he was found, he didn't have many injuries, but it was clear that he was poisoned, and our experts couldn't identify the poison. That is unusual. I was under the impression that Suna had the best experts when it came to poisons and antidotes. Naruto noted, with Temari nodding to him. If you couldn't identify the poison, how are you dealing with it? I was fortunate to have met former Lady Hokage herself, Tsunade, and she decided to come to Suna with me, after I've invited her. When we arrived, Kankura was just brought in, and she took full charge of the situation, and went on to treat him almost immediately. I can't thank her enough for this, Temari said with a sigh, with Naruto looking a bit surprised at her. You haven't talked to Tsunade since you came back. No, though I have been trying to track her down when I had the opportunity and resources to spare. It proved to be a wasted effort, since she all but disappeared from the face of the earth, it seemed. Naruto admitted. All I knew is that she had left Konoha almost immediately after my death, but after that nothing. Well, while we were on our way here, she told me that she had decided to get away from Konoha, and shinobi in general, so she went to the ancestral lands of Senju clan, and stayed there for the past 3 years, having very little contact with the outside world. From my understanding, the region she was staying was quite some way away from civilization, and only sparse villages populated it. It's pretty hard for any kind of news or information to make its way there. Temari told Naruto, who nodded to her. She did say that she heard rumors that there was a new daimyo in the Land of Water, and that he was supposedly in Uzumaki, but aside from that she didn't hear much else. Well, I'm already imagining her surprise when she finds out what I have been up to. Naruto said with a small smile, before they reached the hospital room. This is it. Yes. Let's go. Temari said, and opened the door into the room, where Tsunade was already largely done with the operation. How is he, Tsunade? Temari asked of her, with Naruto stepping inside with her, observing Tsunade wipe off the sweat off her brows. We were lucky to have arrived when we did, since the poison didn't spread far in his organism, and I've already purged it out of him. A few days rest, and he should be. What's with the stupid grin, samurai, and who are you for that matter? Don't tell me that while I was gone you started going a bit blank in the mind, Tsunade. Naruto chuckled, with Tsunade furrowing her brow at his words. Well, how about I'll refresh your memory a bit. Naruto stepped closer to her, and then flicked her forehead with his finger, forcing Tsunade to yelp out of pain, and grab the head spot. Ah, what the hell are you doing? Damn, that one hurt. Tsunade said, as rubbed the sore spot, before turning with a furious expression towards him. How's that supposed to refresh my memory? Maybe if I punch you in the same spot I'll remember you better. Tsunade said with an irate tone, to which Naruto simply chuckled. Thanks, but my forehead is still sore from the last time you've hit it, Grandma. Naruto responded in his signature manner, with Tsunade's eyes widening, as she recognized the speech pattern and tone. You can call it a return of the favor. And by the way, do you still have that necklace you lost to me? If so, I'd like it back, since it is mine, given that you lost that bet with Rasengan. That bet? No, it can't be Naruto. Tsunade asked tentatively, with Naruto smiling at her. It can be you. I personally checked your body, you were dead, and then how is this possible? No, this has to be some kind of a trick by Orochimaru. Tsunade trying to find an explanation for it, with Temari deciding to step in. Lady Tsunade, believe me, it was a shock for me, and my brothers too, but this is Naruto, the real one, and the only one. Temari confirmed it to Tsunade. We don't know how, but he did come back from death, and he has been our most trusted ally and friend ever since we learned he was alive. I'm sorry I did not mention or tell you about it. I had thought that you already knew, and didn't feel the need to bring up the matter. Alright, if you are the real Naruto, then answer this. What was your life's goal? Tsunade asked him, with Naruto blinking at her with surprise. And I don't mean being Hokage. What really Naruto had always wanted. To be acknowledged by people, and to finally be respected by them. Naruto answered, with Tsunade finally accepting that it was him. And the mission is accomplished now. Naruto. Tsunade couldn't keep her tears away, and walked to him, and embraced him. It really is you, but how? Yeah, it is me, Grandma. Naruto assured her, hugging her back, before they broke it up a minute later, with Naruto telling Tsunade, I promise I will explain everything to you, down to the last detail, but right now Gaara needs our help. Is Kankuro in any condition to talk? Ugh, finally you've remembered me. Kankuro said with weakness in his voice, drawing attention to himself. And here I was starting to get comfortable, watching this family drama, and all that. Kankuro jokingly stated. And that's coming from a man who borrows his sister's makeup. Naruto joked back. How are you feeling, Kankuro? Feeling like shit, but I'm alive, and that's already something. Kankuro responded. I'm guessing you are here because Temari called you. I have gotten a bit over my head in this one, but I did manage to snatch a piece of cloth from one of them with one of my puppets. If you have any trackers with you or summons with a good sense of smell, you'll be able to catch up to them soon enough. One of my guards has a summon who can do the trick. Good work, Kankuro. We'll have guard back in no time. Naruto assured him. Yeah, and one more thing, the guy I was fighting, and the partner of that bomber was once one of our own shinobi, Sasori of the Red Sand. You've seen my puppets, and how I use them. Well, he is the one who made them, and he is the very best puppet master of our village, not to mention one of its best poison specialists. Kankuro told him. When I was fighting him, it appeared as if I was fighting a puppet, so I'm guessing that he himself is inside the puppet, controlling it from the safety of that shell. I'm telling you, Naruto, he is really dangerous, so don't underestimate him. Well, good thing that I'm even more dangerous than he is. Naruto responded with a carefree smile. Get some rest, Kankuro. Kai, get that piece of cloth he was talking about, and have your eagles track the Akatsuki down. Naruto commanded her, with the Uzumaki shinobi immediately bowing her head, before leaving to do just that. That could take some time. What are you going to do in the meantime? Tsunade asked him, with Naruto turning towards her. Up for a drink? He asked her without a pause. The end. Thanks for watching my video, and make sure to check out the author of this fanfic. Link is in the description. See you next time. Till then, sayonara.